Alrighty, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. So today we are going to be answering the lifelong question that I know a lot of you are thinking. What does John think about the Victoria's Secret fashion show? I know a lot of people were really curious about this, but in all seriousness, I wanted to talk about this video that was uploaded to TikTok, which I feel has so many different themes of things that I feel that are important. Obviously, we are talking about the Victoria's Secret fashion show and more specifically kind of Ashley Graham and how she fits into that. It'll all kind of make sense, but there's so much more to it in this video, and there are themes that I think I've talked about for a long time that I think a lot of, I'm not saying that I came up with them, but I feel like other people are starting to talk about them. And the most important thing that I want people to think about when they're watching this video is think about the pendulum effect that I have talked about many, many times, right? I feel like this is a great video showcasing that in a specific way. So this comes from the creator Mariel Greguski. I think I said that right. And they are just kind of talking about how Ashley Graham has gone from, you know, the first plus size model basically to then for a while, she's not even that big anymore. Like, we need bigger models. And then now it's basically back to Ashley Graham's kind of too big to be a model with Victoria's Secret. It'll all kind of make sense, but let me just let her kind of speak.
You know what's a cultural marker for me of the times TM that we are in is, do people think Ashley Graham is fat or not? I feel like that's a good litmus test of whether we are in a bad timeline or not.
So if you're not familiar with who Ashley Graham is, I assume that you are, but just like let's just read the most basic part of her Wikipedia here. So Ashley Graham Ervin, born October 30th, 1987, is an American model and television presenter. Graham made her debut on the cover of Sports Illustrated Swimsuit issue in 2016. A year later, she published her first book, A New Model: What Confidence, Beauty, and Power Really Look Like, which contributes to her advocacy in the body positivity and inclusion movement. So she has been kind of like an OG in that space. So yeah, that's who she is if you don't know, which I assume you probably do.
Do people think Ashley Graham is fat or not? So cozy on up. Let's go through the timeline if you need a refresher or a history lesson. So Ashley Graham is starting to come onto the scene, right? She's getting in magazines, she's on runways, people are starting to learn who she is.
So this is, you know, 2015, 2016, I'm assuming.
And this is also the time when the last vestiges of disgusting eating disorder culture, glorification, and pro-Anna bullshit is happening. They are hanging on to their pedestal by their bloody, frail fingers.
It's a very good way to explain it.
And they are pissed. They're pissed at this person who is coming up and saying, hey, how about a little body diversity for the girls? And they're foaming at the mouth, and they can see their crown falling off their head, and they're pissed.
And like, so at this point, right, we were at the pendulum side of extreme thinness, right? Especially if we're talking about the Victoria's Secret fashion show. That was a big thing about it, being as thin as possible, being a tall, thin model. Like, that was a really big part of it. And then any of y'all growing up, I know a lot of y'all around my same age, but like growing up, seeing how thin, like I remember when people were saying that like Jessica Simpson was getting chubby and Britney Spears, and they literally like were skinny still. Like it's crazy looking back on it now, but it had become so normal, right? And so the pendulum kind of started swinging the other direction, right?
And it wasn't only them that was feeling that way, because so many of us were brainwashed our entire, you know, childhood lives, maybe early adulthood lives, to think that skinny is the way, and skinny is the only way that matters. And if you are fat, you spend your whole existence thinking about how to get skinny.
And I think that really birthed a lot of the body positive movement, at least the recent, like the current iteration of it. And I think, like I've said this many times, I think that a lot of the ideas, ideals, and the general themes of the body positive movement are positive, obviously, and it's a good thing, right? Not to consistently be starving yourself to be as thin as possible, consistently thinking that the only way that you can be healthy, happy, that you can live a fulfilled life is by being a size 0, right? Like, that is a negative thing. And so a lot of the initial themes of the more recent body positive movement, I think, were positive, but things got a little out of hand, in my opinion.
So, you know, that the culture is starting to change, and then we have more and more plus size models. And over the years, we start to get more diversity. We say, "Yay! Oh my God! There's more plus size models. There's more, you know, just representation of bigger plus size people." And then we hit a point. We hit a point maybe a handful of years ago where people were like, "Ashley Graham is not plus size. Ashley Graham is a normal-sized woman with some meat on her bones, like a little, like some curvature." We were staring at rail-thin, heroin-chic women for so long. We had sitcoms calling Fran Drescher's ass fat. You know, she was scared of having a fat ass for so long that when we looked at Ashley Graham, we're like, wow, plus-size representation. She's just a normal, just a regular-bodied woman with some curves to her, right? So eventually people say, we need more. We need more size diversity. We need to see more different types of bodies, and we got it.
And that's where I think the pendulum really started to swing the other direction, where it was like, if you are not a super fat or plus or like bigger, then you're not actually even that plus size, and you're actually just the medium. It just felt like it got to be comical. And it was like the only way that you can actually be inclusive is if you have someone that like, but basically can barely even walk down the runway doing a show, right? Like it was like, that's the only actual we need more representation. It has to go that far, where again, I think the pendulum swung too far and it was unnecessary. And then we're kind of seeing the effects of that, because that pendulum, it never likes to go back to the middle. It never does, right? It's going to swing the other way, which is where we're at now.
We got that. So many brands were having people of all different body types, body shapes, all different types of representation in the media. We were on the up and up. And then came the night where the Ozempic nation attacked. And any person that thought to themselves, I love my body. Oh my God, I love my fat body. When I sit down, I have some rolls. Look. All those people went, fuck off, fannies. I'm getting skinny.
So this is where I agree, but I also kind of disagree. I think that Ozempic and the GLP-1 medications have definitely been a big part of this. But I think another big part that I feel like isn't brought up enough is that a lot of people are chasing this ideal. Like they want what society claims is what is to be wanted, right? That's to be desired. That is the ideal body type, right? Like you want to be as thin as possible, you know, in the early 2000s. And then it got to be like, you know, you can be whatever size you want and you should be happy with where you are. And people were chasing that. And then now, because the Ozempic and all the other GLP-1 medications exist, people have the option to get a little bit of help to lose weight, and they're reverting back to this ideal body standard, right? Of like being as thin as possible. I think at the end of the day, what's really important, and I think where a lot of like body positivity, maybe at the start didn't miss the mark, but I think where we're at now, I do think that it misses the mark, is that you should be working towards a healthy and good body for you. And that's going to change based on every single person. That's why I've always said you don't have to be super shredded for you to be healthy, right? Like that is, for a lot of people, that is very unhealthy to be that thin, right? To be that lean, right? And so like, it's really important to like really think to yourself, why am I wanting to lose weight? Why am I wanting to gain muscle? Why am I wanting to do these things? Is this going to benefit my life in the long term? Or am I doing this because I think that this is what society is deeming currently as the ideal? And the reason that that is so dangerous is because, like we're seeing in this video, and like we have seen over time, that ideal changes, and you could be the same size 1 year, and then you think like, you know, 7 years later, you're still the same size you were 7 years ago, but now everyone is saying, oh, you are disgusting, or that I can't believe that you are that size. Or maybe it swings in your favor and they're like, oh my God, we're going to celebrate you now. And this is so great that you are this size and you're so confident and brave and you have the ideal, right? And that's why it's so important to disconnect yourself and your body from like, I'm chasing this because I want to prove to society that I am the ideal, right? It should be, I am chasing this because I want to be in a healthy body and a strong body and a happy, and like I want to be fulfilled in the body that I'm in, regardless of what society thinks. That was a word salad. I hope that it made a little bit of sense. But that's kind of what was on my mind there.
I'm taking this weight loss medication that was intended for diabetics and insulin-resistant people for medical reasons. I'm taking that and I'm getting rid of the stubborn 15 pounds that I was never able to lose, and I deluded myself into thinking that I actually loved my body instead. You know, and now we're back to a point where Ashley Graham is fat again.
So the reason that she's saying that is because there was a lot of comments kind of talking about how, you know, oh, Ashley Graham's bigger on other social media platforms. But I just kind of wanted to show you. So this is what Ashley looked like at the show. And so this was a post that she put up about 5 days ago. And she goes on to say, when Victoria's Secret first reached out, I'll be honest, I hesitated. For years, the brand didn't feel like I was made for someone, like it was made for someone like me. Their vision of beauty seemed narrow, as if everything they created was just for one type of body, and it wasn't mine. But after sitting down with the leadership at Victoria's Secret, I saw real change. Okay. They were excited to have me join the show and assured me that it wasn't just a one-time thing. The curve models weren't just a symbol. Victoria's Secret genuinely want to be part of the body diversity revolution. They shared their commitment to embracing body diversity in a lasting, meaningful way. So I said yes. I said yes to represent all of us, to show up for everybody that's ever felt and seen. This is a journey, and I'm proud to walk. So these are some images of her at the show. This is how she looked. I will definitely say she's not super plus size for sure. Like, I think she's definitely not incredibly thin. People get upset whenever I say that. I don't know. Like, I think she calls herself a curvy model, so I think that's okay to say. She's obviously not super rail thin like a lot of the other models are. But that's kind of what she looks like, just so y'all could have a visual if you haven't seen this stuff yet. I think, like, again, it's putting, like, if you read this, I think it should be important to read it with a grain of salt and understand, like, this is someone that is making money off of this. Victoria's Secret is making money off of this. Like, do they maybe care about showing body diversity? To an extent, but, like, there's also, you always have to understand that there's money, there's reasons behind why, you know, Ashley Graham would decide to come back to Victoria's Secret, all of that stuff, right? I think that that's important. It's usually never just because out of the goodness of their heart. I'm not saying that she's a bad person, but that's just something to keep in mind, right?
Because the Victoria's Secret fashion show happens, they're like, we're going to be more inclusive. And part of that inclusion is Ashley Graham, who is not a big woman, who is a very normal size. On the very low end of plus size.
I don't know. Like, it feels a little weird to, like, consistently be like, you're on the low end of plus size and there's the medium end and there's the high end of I don't know. It just feels like a little bit unnecessary in my opinion.
Call her a curve model, you know? And they include her and people go, oh, I miss the Victoria's Secret's fashion show back in the day. I wish it was 2005 Victoria's Secret fashion shows where the models were eating cotton balls to fill their stomachs and not get fat and passing out backstage because they hadn't eaten in 5 days. Oh, I miss that. So we're back in the bad place. And I think so a big part of that is like the generation wars, if you will. Where, you know, at first the divide between Gen Z and millennials was like, ha ha hee hee, millennials are so cringy and they're always embarrassing, they're always doing the most. And then it was like, it's turned into like, I hate millennials, they're annoying, why don't they shut up? And I think that has lent itself to where we are today, because millennials have been sitting here screaming until our vocal cords are bleeding, saying, do not fall for it. Do not go back. Don't fall for the brainwashing that skinny is best. Skinny is the only way. We saw the dog whistles of the low-rise pants coming back and all the like ED twee rhetoric coming back. And we said, no, 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 please don't fall into that trap.
Again, right? The pendulum. I think it's noble to want to warn people against it, but at the end of the day, man, stuff like this, like, maybe this sounds defeatist, but like, I think history is a good representation of, like, there's going to be an extreme side of something. People are going to be very against it. They're going to say, I don't like this. I don't like this. Whoop. It's going to go over here. Extreme side of this side. Oh my God, I don't like this. I don't want it. Whoop. It goes over here. It's just, I don't know, man. I don't know if there's an answer to it, but I think I am not at all surprised at where we are currently right now. Like, I'm just not.
We watched our friends and family members and loved ones suffer and sometimes die from eating disorders, and we didn't want to see it happening. We are the older generation. I'm not saying you have to respect us, but we're the older generation that has been through some shit, and we're telling you, don't do this.
It's just interesting because it's like, we watched, you know, so many people die from eating disorders. Yeah, that definitely happened, I'm sure. But like at the same time, I get called, and other people that talk about like the dangers of obesity and like accepting that as like terrible people. But again, it's like a lot of us, myself included, saw the path that I was headed down, and I wanted to avoid that. And I'm sure tons of people that are in the comments right now have plenty of personal experience with family members that they were close to that, you know, obesity took their life, you know. And like, I think it's like, it's almost taboo to even say that now, because it's like even saying that there's any negative effects of obesity is like seen as you being hateful, when I just don't see it that way. Like, I think that there's ways that you can talk about it that are not hateful. I think there's ways you can talk about it that are, and there are plenty of people that do that. I try not to, but like just speaking about the genuine issues and dangers of that, I don't think should be considered evil and like you're a hateful person, right?
Watch out. And in my opinion, I feel like it's because the Gen Zs are like, millennials, you shut up. Oh, you want low-rise jeans coming back? Shut up, stupid millennials. And look where we are. Look where we are again. I have not seen fat-phobic vitriol spewed like I have in the past like year or so. I have been doing body positive self-love, self-acceptance content for 4 years. I have never been bullied like this the entire time I've been doing it. It feels like I'm in high school again. It's crazy. So in conclusion, take care of yourselves. Don't fall down the pipeline that the fashion and beauty industry wants you to keep you small and quiet and weak and tired and hungry. Don't do it, and be kind to each other. Okay? Love.
So basically, like I said, most of the stuff that she says, I agree with. I think there's slight differences in, you know, just kind of obviously probably the things that we think and how we believe things could be fixed or things could get improved. I think at the end of the day, the thing that's most important is to not put your entire self-worth and put all of this effort and energy into being the current ideal. Because the ideal is going to change. It's going to change in a few years. It always changes. And so at the end of the day, I think what's important for most people is finding a lifestyle that is sustainable, that is healthy, that makes you happy, that makes you powerful, that makes you able, and that makes you, you know, able to do things that you otherwise maybe can't do right now. And how you look, I think, at the end of the day, you're going to fall somewhere in the middle. You're probably not going to be an extremely overweight person. You're probably not going to be an extremely underweight person. And just being happy with where your body is sitting, and being more than that, being happy with what your body can do, and just always remembering that like there is so much power in like how much you can change yourself. And I think that's, I don't know, it's just something that for me, it's like there's so many things in life that are out of our control. And I completely understand that it can be overwhelming, but like the effort that we put into our diet and our exercise and like trying to be healthy is like, that's something that we can control. And I just want people to see that and like understand how awesome that is. I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of ranting and raving. I'm genuinely curious what y'all think down in the comment section down below. All in all, I thought this was a fantastic video. There are slight differences that we maybe disagree with, but I hope that people are able to see that just because you have slight differences doesn't mean that I'm like, this creator is completely wrong. I thought it was a very interesting video, and that's what spurred me to want to make this. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comment section down below, and I'll see you next time. Peace.